So that's two 737 strapped under the wings. So 500 feet, that's pretty impressive. So what the guys are going to do now is just reposition for a pass down the runway in the landing configuration. They'll do an orbit in that configuration and then reposition for a high-speed pass as they make their departure back to Auckland.
One of your pilots that I know quite well was telling me the facilities for the flight crew are quite amazing. They've got their own little hotel room with coffee on tap and bunk beds and things.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure about the coffee, but certainly crew rest, which is important. Fatigue management in these ultra-long sectors is really important, and certainly Boeing have provided an excellent solution to that problem in this aeroplane. The crew rest is actually in the ceiling, above the ceiling of the aircraft and below the crown of the aircraft, which is the exterior fuselage. And for the pilots, we actually have two seats there and two bunks, and in the down the back there's a setup for the cabin crew. It's a bit like what you'd seen in the old sleeper trains in the old days, you know. And we've got 8 bunks down the back as well for the cabin crew.
So presumably then on some of these longer hauls you're double crew.
That's right. Well, what we do is the minimum crew for a 777 is 2. A captain and a first officer, and on ultra long range we take that up to 4. So that's the maximum pilot crew that we operate with.
Now you've flown these aircraft quite a lot.
Yes.
And
yeah, I delivered this particular aircraft back on the 12th of January.
What's she like to fly?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's all fly-by-wire. So it is a fly-by-wire aircraft. A lot of the flight envelope protection is provided obviously by the computers. As is Boeing's philosophy, the pilots can make some intervention into that, but it flies beautifully, and it has a lot of features which make the passenger ride very good too. Gust alleviation and things that smooth out the ride.
What I like about the 777 is that you still get a kick in the back when you take off, where
That's
some
right.
of the European ones, shall we say, just sort of dribble down the runway and
Yeah.
just wonder.
Yes, certainly got plenty of get up and go, there's no doubt about that.
I was also told that it's probably one of the last commercial aircraft that is actually a pilot's aircraft, even though it's fly-by-wire.
Well, I flew the 787 actually just recently. I brought one down from Seattle, and that actually feels just like a 777, and in fact Boeing have designed it in that way. So here she comes, 500 feet and doing around about 45 miles an hour. Flat 30 is the normal landing configuration, and that's what they've got there at the moment.
Very quiet too.
Very quiet. Yeah, no, it's noteworthy for its lack of noise, and that's good for communities nowadays, with particularly around busy airports, Heathrow, Sydney, and in fact Auckland now is becoming more noise sensitive, and so aircraft that are quiet like this is certainly good for business.
Yes, I think we'll almost certainly see some of the nighttime noise restrictions being lifted as these new quiet aircraft come into service.
The aircraft there, just looking at it running along the ridgeline, is it looks like it's going very, very slowly, doesn't it? It's actually doing 145 knots. It's just a size issue.
I was looking at it down there towards the township of Wanaka, and it was probably 6 kilometres away, and yet it's still huge.
That's right, yes. It does take, we don't like to go above 30 degrees angle of bank, and that's why it's taking some time to manoeuvre the aircraft in the valley.
That's probably the biggest thing that the Clutha has seen.
No doubt about it. Slightly longer than a 747. And in actual fact, from a business perspective, is better than a 747. That aircraft, or the 777-300, actually has a greater volume and weight carrying capacity in the cargo hold than a 747. And since we brought the 777-300 into the network, our cargo volumes have actually doubled out of LA, which is excellent.
I think a lot of people don't realise that a lot of air cargo is actually in space that's on passenger aircraft. It's not
Absolutely.
Dedicated aircraft.
Absolutely. And it's very important for New Zealand Inc., for exporters and importers. But for an isolated island destination, a lot of stuff that we carry is actually important for not only for business but also for the community, medical, high quality, but also important. And into the islands, we do a lot of delivering medical equipment and things like that into the island nations around the Pacific.
There'll be a few young people out there thinking, "Oh, I'd like to fly one of those." What's the procedure? What is the timeline and what have you for getting
A type rating on
a
this?
seat on a commercial in New Zealand?
There's several ways of doing it. I was really, felt quite proud to see the Air Force display before, and I'm still a great advocate. I actually went through the commercial training regime, but the first thing I would say is think about serving your country and joining the Air Force. If that's not your gig, there's a tremendous number of training organisations in New Zealand. Get a commercial licence, get a job in GA, which is not easy, and general aviation, and then eventually you'll progress through to generally the regional airlines. We have 3 in Air New Zealand: Eagle, Air Nelson and Mount Cook. After you spend time there, you enjoy the jet fleet.
Smart looking airplane, very smart.
It's cool.
We've got 6 so far. Have you any plans for any more?
No, we've got actually 5. Yeah, and that was the order. The guys are just gaining a little altitude now to reposition for a high-speed run past on the way to Auckland. And we've got 8 777-200s, which is the slightly small. Believe it or not, that's 290 watts.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.